The most confusing place to be is when nothing is wrong and yet everything feels off. Where you've got the career that you worked for years, you're making good money, you've got stability, reputation, and on a paper, your life looks great. So why on earth does it feel so off? Why is the work that used to give you energy and meaning and fulfillment now just drains the life out of you? Why is it the goals that you felt so proud of, that you chased, you don't even care about them anymore, at least not in the same way. And even when you achieve them, that high is so short that it's just almost not worth it. And the frustrating part is that you can't even explain, you can't verbalize any of this to yourself and especially to anyone else, because on the outside, nothing is actually wrong. So if this is where you are right now, let's have a conversation about what's really going on, because this space is very confusing and frustrating. And if you don't understand what's happening, you can spend years here draining yourself, trying to make sense of it, or blow everything up. And I've done both. Years ago, I used to work 70-hour week and I travel constantly and I ran on very little sleep. And I loved it. I loved going into the office. I loved going to clients, getting stuck into problems, figuring things out, collaborating, going to meetings. And even the times when I had to pull all-nighter, I didn't mind. I could just bounce back like this. And then fast forward a few years, and technically, it actually improved. I became more senior, I had a bigger role, but I was working a lot less hours. I was earning probably three times more. I had a perfect work life balance. But the thing is, I felt completely drained. On the days where I actually had to show my face at the office, I would sit there most of the time just checking the clock. Is it 5 yet? Is it 5 yet? I was avoiding projects. I dreaded being pulled into another meeting. And trust me, I did my best to force that motivation, to force myself to care, to feel how I used to feel. But the harder I tried, the more drained I felt. And it messed with me for a long time because I could not figure it out. It was still more or less, the same job, just kind of a higher level. Environments was fine, like nothing was wrong with it. People were friendly. I always had nice managers. So there wasn't really anything I could pinpoint and say, that is the problem. But what I did not realize back then is that the life I had made sense to who I used to be, but not who I was anymore. The version of me who used to care about climbing the ladder, the salary, the status, the recognition, I just wasn't that person anymore. And it was a pretty scary place to be because I've spent 15 years building that life and suddenly I didn't even think I wanted it. But the problem was I didn't know what I wanted instead, or if anything was possible, because that was the only thing I qualified to do. I mean, I had a computer science degree, right? That's what I had to do with my life. And for a long time, I didn't have the answers. So I just kept fixing and controlling and rearranging things, like by booking more holidays, by treating myself to more facials, trying to change the environment. But nothing seemed to work, at least not for long. And I would always come back to that something is missing, the disconnect. And eventually I got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't go on pretending that everything was fine. I needed a way out and I needed it fast. So I made some life changing decisions. I quit my six-figure contract. I bought a business, which I knew nothing about. I've never run a business before. And I invested multiple five figures in coaches and programs, trying to start my life over. And I thought that this radical change would fix what I was feeling, the disconnect, the drain, that's like confusion. But guess what? I ended up exactly in the same cycle, just a lot more broke because I had no money coming in, but with the same pressures, the same frustrations, the same patterns. And then I crashed again. And this time it was even worse. However, that second burnout was my turning point because that's when I finally clicked that I could change the jobs, I could start business, I could change my environment, my relationship, but I could never run away from myself. And I was trying so hard to change my life, but was what I wasn't changing was myself. I still kept thinking similar thoughts, feeling similar emotions, having similar reactions, showing up more or less in the same way. And that's why I kept ending up in the same place, feeling drained, unfulfilled, disconnected. And it took me years to really start making the shifts because I started to understand that the real shift is in me, not out there. It's not about finding the perfect job or a business or a partner or a course or a mentor or a coach, because you can still do all that and still feel exactly the same. And that's what so many people miss. They chase this external achievement. They think that another job or a different relationship or a different body will make them more successful, more fulfilled, more loved, more seen, more respected. And yeah, sure, for a moment it can, but unless they have changed who they are internally, sooner or later they will repeat the same pattern, because you can put yourself in a very different situation and yet recreate very similar experience, very similar outcome. But when you change yourself from the inside, how you think, how you feel, how you show up, your energy, that's when the real change happens, because you start breaking this same frustrating cycles. You become more focused, more present, more engaged. You start seeing opportunities and possibilities which currently you're not even open to seeing them, because you're looking at their life through a very different lens. Your perspective starts to shift and you just become aware of so much more. So if you're at the point where you feel like you've outgrown your life that you spent years building, but still staying in it, not because you want to, but because you think you have to, because you don't know what else you can do instead, or because you don't believe that something else is possible for you, because you've invested too much time, too much energy to walk away. If you keep adjusting, if you keep compromising, if you keep on trying to make it work, no matter what you do, that heaviness, that emptiness, the disconnect, that will only get more intense. And this isn't something you can brush off and ignore. Trust me, I've tried it. It's a sign. It's like sign from universe that you are ready for a different chapter of your life, a chapter that actually fits with who you are now. And if you understand this, and if part of you is feeling these words, just know that you don't need to blow up your entire life or sacrifice everything you worked so hard for. But you do need to get honest. You need to face what's happening and stop pretending it's fine, because it's not. There are only really two paths here. One is you keep on going as you are, adjusting, compromising, trying to fit yourself into life that no longer fits, or step outside of that. Get honest about what is it that you want, what truly matters to you, what gives you that sense of fulfillment, that peace and joy, what feels right for you. Because 5 years from now, these two paths lead to very different lives. One path is predictable. It's where you are right now, maybe just with more gray hair, more frustrated. And another is where you feel truly alive. So if the second path is for you, don't sit on it for another year. Reach out and let's have a real and honest talk. So you can get hold of me on my email, which I'll leave below the video, or message me directly on LinkedIn. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.